Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel. My name is Mike. I'm continuing my Week 1 previews and analysis. This video is for the game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. This is, of course, a rematch of last year's NFC Divisional Round game, which was sort of Colin Kaepernick's coming out party. I mean, certainly people knew who Colin Kaepernick was. They knew of the successes that his team had had the second half of last year when he took over the reins. But that 45-31 win sort of stamped Colin Kaepernick, as he had an amazing game, both running and throwing the ball and just gashing the Packers for big plays all over the field. Certainly both these teams coming into this year now have Super Bowl aspirations. The Packers in the offseason, they lose Greg Jennings, but remember, they still have the likes of Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, James Jones, Jermichael Finley at tight end. So the cupboard is not bare by any means. They do add Eddie Lacy in the draft. Something I think they very sorely needed, and I thought it was good they got him as late as they did in the first round. As far as that defensive side of the ball, that defense for the most part remains intact. They did get Dayton Jones in the draft to help bolster that defensive line. But, you have Clay Matthews signing a large extension in the offseason. You had that defense just sitting around and thinking about how Colin Kaepernick just gashed them. And if there's one thing I think they're going to be prepared for in this game is Kaepernick's scrambling ability. And, if they're not, then it makes you wonder what they've been doing the whole offseason and what they've been thinking about, because Kaepernick, I mean, I don't want to say embarrassed because that's a strong word, but Kaepernick was sensational last year, made a lot of big plays. You would think they'd be prepared for that, and they would put Kaepernick in a situation where he had to use his outside weapons, which I'll get to in a second, to beat them, weapons that I don't think are weapons pretty much at this point at all. But the Packers offense, I look for them to be clicking in this game. The 49ers defense is a very formidable opponent. I think the Packers can put up points on anyone. I look for Aaron Rodgers to also sort of stay away from the big-time mistake that he, doesn't make that much. He's a great quarterback. For my money, I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in football. I'm sure he feels like he has something to prove after that loss last year as well. As far as the 49ers go, look, I think this team is poised to make a Super Bowl run. I'd be very surprised if they're not in the NFC Championship game this year. I look at them and Seattle, both in the same division, as being the two best teams in the NFC. The question marks for the 49ers, I mean, they pretty much, their major pieces stayed intact. You just have on the offensive side of the ball, obviously the injury to Michael Crabtree, which is a big deal, I think, for them, is coming into the season. You think you have Michael Crabtree, Anquan Bolden, and of course Mario Manningham. And now out of all those three, you thought you were going to have heading into the offseason, you now only have Anquan Bolden. You'll have to start Kyle Williams, who's mainly a return man at the other receiver spot, and you still have Vernon Davis. But I think that's a cause for concern for a guy like Kaepernick, because you would think teams would be ready to handle the Colin Kaepernick running game this year. There's enough tape that they'll be able to sort of be able to neutralize that. He has a great offensive line in front of him. I think the best offensive line in the league. You would have to think Frank Gore is going to give you a lot until you see differently. But with a game on the line, or just in general, how are those outside guys able to perform? Is he able to develop a little bit better chemistry with Vernon Davis? How does that all unfold here? At the beginning of the season, I think that's one thing that's worth watching for the 49ers. But where he has an advantage over a lot of young quarterbacks, the fact he has a stud offensive line, he has a stud running back, and he also has, for my money, the best defense in the league. When you talk about the front that they have, led by Justin Smith, and of course the linebacking core, which it seems like all four of those guys make plays, whether it's Aldon Smith rushing from the end, Bowman and Willis on the inside. Certainly their secondary going through a little bit of a state of flux this year. They draft Eric Reed, Deshaun Goldson is gone, but look, when you're a good team like this, when your free agents come up for that big money deal, you're not going to be able to sign all of them. And a sign of a good team is one that's able to replace these kind of guys. And I look for Vic Fangio on the defensive side of the ball and Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh on the offensive side of the ball to really be able to round this team into shape. I think they're going to have I look for this game to be tough this first week. I know they're at home, but I just think the Packers are going to come out with their hair on fire. They have a lot to prove after what happened last year. And remember, this is Packers team that has a lot of guys who won a Super Bowl on it, certainly filled with a lot of pride. I think this is going to be the game of the weekend because I actually think this game is going to be close throughout, and I look for Green Bay to pull it out at the end. I know I'm going a little bit against the trend here. It's not that I'm down on San Francisco. I think San Francisco is a very good team, but I think you got to take into consideration what Green Bay must have felt like walking off that field, and also the fact that I think they'll neutralize Kaepernick's running ability, and I don't have much confidence that they'll be able to keep up points-wise with Green Bay with the weapons they have. But let me know what you guys think. I like Green Bay plus 4.5 on the road in San Francisco. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me up in the YouTube comments. Hit me up on Twitter at SNewsAnalysis. Guys, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm talking football all year here. Preview every game every week, and just always talking about news items as well from around the NFL. So be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for listening, and have a great night.